Hello and welcome to Trading Thoughts, your home for everything business, economics, and financial markets related. I'm Kieran Busby, and I'm here joined with Richard McSweeney. How are you doing, Richard?
I'm doing very well, Kieran. Good to be back on the show.
How have you been keeping in your coronavirus lockdown?
Yeah, not too bad, actually. I was just saying on the last show, I have been working from home, luckily, the last few weeks, so I haven't been affected too badly by the whole situation. And that's what we're here to talk about today, I suppose.
Lovely. And I'm also joined by the one and only Connor Hogan. Connor, how are you keeping?
I'm good, Kieran. Good to be back on the show.
Good to see you. Nice Berkeley t-shirt there. It's a first video
Thanks
format as well for the show, so it's very interesting to see us all. Our fans can see us. Of course, Pierce Montgomery isn't here today. I'm taking over the host duties. But today our subject is going to be working from home, guys, something that we're kind of familiar with now ourselves. But I was wondering maybe what you think about working from home very briefly as a kind of top line. Tell me about what you think working from home is like.
Yeah, Kieran, it's been an interesting situation. To be honest with you, I don't think my productivity has been affected by too much because in the actual job that I do, I need to be, I have certain goals to achieve every single hour of the day. I was speaking with different clients all the time. I have a schedule to abide by. So I can't really deviate too much from that. So in that sense, I think my productivity has been more or less the same as it's been in the office. There are some other parts of it that I definitely missed. I missed the kind of camaraderie. And also I think the fact mainly is that, I have been in my job now for about 10 months. And in that time, you learn to be, quite efficient with how you do things and effective as well. But a lot of that comes down to the fact that when you come to the office every day, you're surrounded by equally hardworking people who know what they're doing. And you kind of take little bits and bobs off everyone. So there's a bit of osmosis going on there. But if I were just starting this job right now in this working from home environment, would I be able to reach the same level? And that's something that I'm not too sure of, to be honest.
It's a very good point. Onboarding, I think, is very difficult in this digital native starting up in a new job. It's hard to actually get people assimilated into the culture, first of all, and then also make sure that they know what all roles they're doing, different aspects of any kind of job that usually would happen in the onboarding process. But Connor, I see maybe potentially you might have a bit of insight here.
Yeah, just on that, the fact that when people join new firms, there's that training stage where people are trying to get up to speed on how systems operate within the firm, and I think this whole work from home thing doesn't really facilitate that. So I think a lot of firms are struggling, and you can kind of see that with grad programs being cancelled or even being cut down significantly. So I think firms are appreciating that they can't really be hiring in people and expecting them to get up to speed from working from home, because it's just not really feasible to do it that way. But they are going to need to come up with some sort of way or some sort of program that enables that to happen, because obviously people still need to get employed and they still need new recruits coming in every year. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of a program or that companies come up with to enable that to happen.
Yeah, it'd be great to see a system put in place by companies, and who knows, maybe there's even a gap in the market for someone who can provide onboarding services digitally and remotely. If any entrepreneurs are out there, listen, don't take that idea. I might pay it. But guys, moving on though, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg came out to say that within 10 years, he reckons that Facebook is going to have all 50% of their employees working from home, and they will adjust the pay for those living in less expensive areas. So what do you think of that? That's an interesting fact, I think, especially in Ireland. Let's say we're very centralised in Dublin. It'd be great to see companies that can allow 50% of their staff to work home, take the burden off costs of renting houses in Dublin and move it outside of the capital. What would be your feelings, Connor, maybe? Start with you.
I think on that, Kieran, it's a good initiative brought by Facebook. The thing about it though is with connectivity problems, like so for yourself going back to Monaghan, which you're going to be getting paid less presumably because Monaghan's a lot cheaper town to live in. Will you have the connectivity to work in the same capacity that you would if you were working here in Dublin. I know myself, I'm continued to live up here in Dublin just because I wouldn't have the Wi-Fi back home to enable me to continue to work at the same pace and speed that I need to. And with all the Zoom calls that are going on I know how annoying it is when you're on a call and people are dropping off or the sound goes or whatever. So in that regard, I think it will only work to a certain extent. And until the infrastructure and the network is there, it can't really be rolled out here in Ireland.
Exactly. Yeah, I would agree with you, especially in my experience in Monaghan. Yeah, it's very difficult to get anything better than a dial-up connection. Pretty much, so you still hear the robot bleep bloop bloop bloop. But Richard, what do you think at that point there, as a person who loves social media and loves Mark Zuckerberg, I believe?
Personally, yeah, I do agree with Connor. It's a great initiative. My question is it actually something that's going to be feasible in the long term? To be honest with you, I don't think so. I think the really important thing to remember is that humans are, we're social beings. We don't like to be isolated away from each other. And that whole collaboration, communication aspect of being in an office with each other, I think that's a really, really important part of what makes us what we are as human beings. So, like I say, it's a great initiative, but I don't think in the long term it can be a feasible solution.
So when it's backed up now, he's got another plan, kind of, I think, to counter that point, where he's going to make a new kind of hubs of Facebook in Atlanta and Denver, I believe is the other city, and they're going to be kind of hubs to bring people in and pull them together from people who work in the area, have community and camaraderie. So what do you think about that? Like, if let's say, I don't know, Mr. James Joyce is working for a big company, a big tech startup or something in Dublin, but they've got little hubs kind of out in Cork and Galway and Monaghan for some reason. Do you think that would work a bit better? I know the connectivity issues are still there, but within 10 years, we were hoping the rollout of 5G is going to kind of bring everyone on the island of Ireland up to speed in the network. Richard, maybe.
Personally, I don't think it could be a long-term replacement, even with the whole connection side of things, because at the end of the day, you can't replace human interaction face-to-face with a Zoom call or a Teams conference or whatever it's going to be. You do really need that face-to-face interaction, in my opinion, to become, to reach your full potential within your role. So
yeah,
personally, I don't see it being a solution. I think one of the important things is that it's going to change the office landscape. I think in the future, they're going to have to start implementing social distancing within the offices. And as a result, they probably won't be able to have as many people as they would have hoped in the office. But overall, I don't think it's going to change the way that we work and the way that we get ourselves to work. I don't see it being a long-term solution for that.
Connor, would you have a point to a rebuttal or a remark to make there?
I just think there's pros and cons to it both, because the pro to it is that companies will be setting up operations in places where they mightn't have before. Like you said, like Galway might become a bit more of a hub. Limerick, Cork, these sort of places are going to become more hubs than just everything being centralized in Dublin, which I think is a big plus. It'll bring local economies, regional economies. It'll help them a lot and bring a lot of employment to those areas. But similarly, I would be in agreement with Richard in terms of it's a lot easier to walk into your manager's office and just ask her or him something very quickly, rather than being like, would you mind coming on a Zoom call with me for 15 minutes? Because they have to actually take time out of their day, and it has to be more of a methodical process to do it that way. So I think the fact that you can't actually replace the human interaction, like Richard was saying.
Richard, I see we have a chat going here that we can see who wants to talk, and he has something to say here again.
Yeah, just touching up on what Connor was saying. I think the important thing is, if I were to ask any single one of my colleagues right now, would you rather work from home forever, or would you rather work back in the office forever? I think 99.999% of people would go for the office. And that's the most important thing at the end of the day. Like, personally, I'm not going to say it's miserable working from home, but it's certainly not the same atmosphere of walking every day, seeing your friends. Your work colleagues are your friends as well. That's another important thing. And when you don't have those human relationships that are kind of getting you through the bad days as well as the good, that can make work definitely not as nice of a place to be in.
Yeah, I'd agree 100% there. I know for one, I'm definitely in the office. I miss the crack. I miss the camaraderie. I miss just actually having somewhere to go that's not my kitchen that gets really messy for some reason, and I don't have the motivation to keep cleaning it every day. Um, but maybe then a blended approach in the future. Maybe it's like, you're allowed to have 3 days in the office and 2 days from home, something along those lines. But again, I think that makes up a bit of a legal ramification, especially if it sucks is right here and 50% of the work, or if the workforce is going to be working from home within 10 years, is legal kind of quandaries around, you're at home, there's a standard level of inspection for health and safety offices have to maintain. And it'll be very interesting to see, let's say, if home regulations are going to be stricter again, if the workplace has to have any initiative in that. Richard, would you have any thoughts there?
Yeah, just touching on what you're saying there, in terms of the flexibility, I do definitely like the idea of having the option to go to work from home. There might be certain days or certain weeks that just really don't suit us to have to come into the office every single day. Not to mention the environmental factors of not having to, take the car in or get public transport or whatever. So I like the idea of flexibility and being able to choose, but I wouldn't like to be told, having got a job, that you have to work from home.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you there. Yeah, Connor, any opinions?
I think, like, this is a very personal thing, but I think that the cost saving of me not going to work is actually a lot, because I'm not eating out as much. I'm not obviously drinking as much. I'm saving on transport costs. So personally, I think it's saving me a lot. I think in the long term, working from home will save businesses a lot, because as we mentioned before, if people start to work in regional offices, they can pay less because the cost of living in that city is a lot less. And along with that, then companies won't have to pay for premises. So the rent and leasing on that will be a huge saving for companies. So in that regard, I think that there's a place for working from home, and I think that there's also, as we've already touched on, there's a place for going into the office for that human interaction. So it's really, I think, as you were mentioning, Kieran, like a blend between the two, which is key to, I think, the future of all of this, really.
Yeah, definitely it'll be an outcome, I suppose, from it. But you mentioned there as well, just about, the economic factors of, like, not going into the office and saving that money on transport costs. But with Zuckerberg, what he's saying is that, there's going to be pay cuts in those areas. So if you're living in a lower or less expensive, city, you're going to get paid less. So it's going to be on scale kind of with the I suppose the market rate, I suppose, in the given place you are. So would that disincentivize that again further, where you're losing that savings?
Yeah, I think it depends, because when you're going, if you're spending €5 for a pint in Dublin and you only have to spend €2.50 for one in Monaghan, it's all relative, really. So you're going to be getting less money, but you're going to be getting more buck for your dime, so.
Very fair, very fair. I like the 250 pints a Monaghan. I wish I could get them in Monaghan. But Richard, do you have any thoughts there?
Yeah, it's just, the big question is, does all this cost saving and saving on the environment as well, does that outweigh the impact this could have on mental health in the long term? We've already touched upon it several times already, but you can't really emphasize enough the social aspect of work as well. Like, since the beginning of time, the reason why humans have been able to put themselves on the top of the food chain, essentially, is because we've been able to collaborate with each other. There's not a chance to be able to do that if we're all isolated from one another. So, and I think if we're talking about a long-term solution, once again, I don't think it would outweigh all the cons.
I'm glad you asked about mental health there, because I suppose one of the last topics that I had that I wanted to talk to you guys about, because we are trading thoughts, of course, is about the kind of psychology behind it as well, and the productivity guilt that some people might feel. So I know for myself, there's days maybe where I kind of inch into, I hope my employers aren't listening to this, but I kind of like inch into a little bit of, looking on the websites and stuff, reading up, and maybe tipping onto social media on my phone, maybe for 5 minutes, it turns into 10, and you're a bit behind your schedule. So you kind of, potentially get some productivity guilt where you end up working a bit later to ensure you get what you have done. What would you think about that? Is there any productivity guilt? Can you see that as being more of a factor working from home, or the office, where you kind of have that all watching eye of your supervisor or your colleagues kind of keeping you in check?
Yeah, I definitely think the fact that when you're surrounded by your colleagues again in work, kind of incentivizes you to kind of keep on pushing through it. Whereas when you're at home, and in my case, for example, if I get a client who doesn't answer for our scheduled meeting, it can be kind of tougher to drag yourself through and put in the work that you're meant to. But I mean, again, if we're talking about from a personal point of view, like I've found at the moment, I've been working longer hours than if I were in the office. I've probably been doing more work at home than if I were in the office, constantly having to answer emails and getting in new appointments and so on and so forth. So in that sense, yeah, I get what you're saying. It can also have an impact in that area.
Connor, what do you think?
I think in terms of productivity, I'm kind of in a similar boat to Richard, in that my productivity hasn't really declined since I started working at home. I think it's just the nature of my job that it's actually got busier, just because we're normally busier around this time anyways. And that we haven't really lost that kind of income or those jobs that are coming in, because they're kind of recurring in that sense. But I think from a mental health point of view, the splitting between working from home and then living at home is important.
Yeah.
So like, how do you distinguish between leaving the work laptop down and then continuing on with just your normal day-to-day life of living at home? Like, how do you separate the two? Because it's very easy to go from turn down the laptop to, oh, I'm still here at home, like there's nothing that's changed. So having that differentiator between the two, I think, is an important part to mental health, and going out for walks and all that can never be overstated either.
Definitely agree with you. Yeah. Any other points there?
No, I think we kind of touched on a lot of the points that we were hoping to get at, and I think work from home is definitely something that's going to have to be continuously talked about, because it's such a prevalent part of our lives now. So I think, Richard, what's your thoughts on that?
What's your closing statements?
Yeah, I think to summarize, I guess, it's been a great short-term solution in terms of the ongoing situation at the moment. But I think once, fingers crossed, the situation starts to die down and we get through it, I think this whole working from home, in my opinion, will be more or less a thing of the past. I think it's going to change, like we said, the kind of office landscape. There are going to be more social distancing rules inside offices. But overall, I don't think this is going to be a long-term thing that we have to worry about.
Very interesting. Well, let's look forward to the future, and hopefully refer back to this podcast and see if we were right or wrong. But we were Trading Thoughts. Thanks a million for coming here today, Richard, to talk to me.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
And Connor, thanks a million for tuning in and videoing us with that lovely hoodie.
No problem. Cheers, Buzzley.
No problem at all. All right then. So until next time, and Pierce Montgomery returns for a host. That's it. And keep safe. Good luck. Have a good one.
Stay safe, guys. All the best.